All right, welcome everybody. It is the after show, and we're going to have some wonderful music with Fanny and Vegari and Omashar, and we've got some of our teachers have agreed to stay and answer some questions. I know that Mike Thomas and Paul Sterling are going to be with us, and Emily Orum is going to join us. Sheza and Erikaa, let me know if you guys are available to answer any Q&A. If I see that you're still on and your cameras are on, I'll assume that that means yes. And for those of you that are watching, please give us your questions. Now, again, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, we'll try and catch it, but it's just much easier if you come on into our Zoom room, and it's really easy to do that. Just go to globalpeacetribe.com, globalpeacetribe.com, and register, and that way you can come on in, and we're going to have some really powerful Q&A. I'm going to kick us right off, though, with some music. You heard just a little homeopathic dose of Fanny and Vegari and the Mystiques, but here let's have a the full experience. So welcome Fanny, Vegari, the Mystiques, and I know you've got a special song you've put together just for tonight's theme.
Yes, and this is about home. Home, everyone says, is where the heart is, or where the hearth is. And there's also Om, which is the universal vibration. So here we are. Fanny has written this beautiful song which combines the two. And we called it Om.
Wherever love is, there is home.
sisters. We are people of the stars. We are the avatars. We are the ones we've been waiting for.
Thank you so much.
Oh, that was just beautiful. What a wonderful start to the after show. Thank you so much. And Fanny and Vegari are, they've really kind of become like our mainstays for the after show. They're going to play another song at least tonight, but to learn more about them, here is their website, starchild.ca. Starchild.ca. And they are just precious to us, and really love you guys so much. Thank you for being with us, and that beautiful, beautiful music. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be on this show.
Love you guys. Erikaa, there's a question that's actually come in for you. And so I'm going to turn it over to you first. And then actually, after that, I'm going to introduce Emily Orum because it's also a question I think Emily might have something to say about. I don't know if you noticed it. It came in on Facebook, on one of our Facebook pages. I'm kind of condensing because somebody wrote a long piece. But the bottom line, it was a woman who also, her introduction to sex was similar. It was an incested rape experience. And she's wondering what the tools are, how you moved from a similar experience to actually feeling good about your sexuality, feeling good about your sensuality. And she kind of went into depth about how just it was such a hard start to sex, and a lot of her associations were very negative around sexuality. So it's hard for her to understand how you've become someone who is so sexually expressed and feels so good about that. So I know that that's a big question, but there you have it.
This is a beautiful question. And I believe that shame has a lot of layers that come from different voices, whether our mom, our dad, ourself. And I personally know that there was a moment on my journey where I realized I had so much shame, I did not want to look at myself. And so that shame started to show up in my relationship to the mirror, through the relationship as a woman, and mostly my sexuality. So there was a moment where I decided I'm tired of, being abused. And my stepfather at the time saw me drawing and defaming my picture, a beautiful picture of me as a little girl. And then he said, why are you drawing on yourself? And I said, I don't like who I am. And I realized, wait, that's not me. This is not my shame. And a few days later, it was raining. And there was that story in your head that just keeps looping and it just keeps playing this background tape of negativity. And I realized I get to choose, I get to reparent myself, and I can change the story and tell my mom. So first it takes awareness. And there's two questions, and I actually share this in one of the Relation Flicks videos. And those two questions you can ask yourself is, what would courage have me do? What would courage have me do? And am I willing to do this? Am I willing to do this? And for me, courage was that little girl that needed the higher self, the woman that was, I'm ready to move on and change my life. When you get to that point where you get to be your own parent, your king and your queen, that king and queen is within you. And it starts by asking yourself empowering questions. When you're asking yourself disempowering questions, you're going to go on a loop of downward spiral of what about this and what about this? And first it takes self-awareness. For me, I did not know meditation when I was little. I did not know Wim Hof or all of these amazing hacks. I just had to trust myself and ask myself the most empowering questions. So that is a tool that you can do, and hopefully that supports you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I'm sure you probably have more that you could share about it. But that's a really wonderful start. And it's interesting that you mentioned the king and queen live within you. I'm about to introduce Emily Orum. And I don't know if you know Emily or not, but it just so happens that that's a big part of Emily's current teaching. Emily and I have done a lot of creation together. We were in partnership together for 5 years. We were running Love Coach Academy, did hundreds of Facebook videos together. And here she is. And so that was actually a great introduction on your end, Erikaa. Emily, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on board, coming to us from Mexico. And so kind of follow up, I guess, on that question and anything you want to riff on about how the king and queen live on inside of us.
Oh, Scott, it's such a pleasure to be here. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound great.
Okay, great. Well, I just wanted to say that so much of our sexuality gets identified by what happens to us externally. So in this case, when your first experience is energy coming at you basically without your consent and taking your energy, kind of a predatorial taking energy without consent, you then start to fear that your energy or there's something wrong with you or you're not safe. And so being able to find our own safety and our own sense of self-worth, regardless of the externals and regardless of our first experiences that shape us or our first beliefs that we make of ourselves based in objectification of what's sexy or beautiful. And then we create ourselves to be that, to be loved, right? We outsource our love, we outsource our self-worth, we outsource our safety based in these traumatic events or based in our conditioning. So deconstructing that is a huge lifelong journey. And so I just want to piggyback on what was said before, is like really doing the work to come into, okay, regardless of what's happened to me, how do I love myself? How do I find my truth? How do I cultivate my own sexual energy, my own sense of turn on, and develop what that is to me? And that's a really huge, courageous act, because so many of us are cultivating our sense of pleasure by what pleases others or how we'll be loved and accepted. And so getting to know our own energy and who we are and our truth, and being able to come into asking ourselves, what is the truth of who we are, builds this sense of a power in us. And so just coming back to the king, queen, and what I call the magical inner child, the holy trine, this incredible relationship that lives on inside of you, your queen energy, which I associate with your body and your sex, and your heart, and then your king energy, which is your cosmic creator, the one that is guiding and wielding and showing you the way, and that is honoring and directing your queen from your soul essence, your energy. And then your magical inner child is you before the illusion of separation, before the fall from grace, before you were conditioned by your shoulds, your guilt, and your shame. There's this pure, innocent, magical, effervescent, incredible, vulnerable, pulsing, excited, magical inner child. And I feel that by cultivating these three relationships inside of ourselves, that we can come into our ultimate wholeness and completeness and create our life from that place of integrated wholeness and sacred union. So that's what I have to say about that. And thank you so much.
Well, that's a pretty big boom. Thank you. And we'll
Yay.
hear more from Emily, I think, before the evening's over, and hopefully more from Erikaa as well. Emily is going to be one of our featured presenters next week. And I haven't really spoken too much yet about next week's show. Emily is also known as the Heart Ninja. So she is the Heart Ninja. And she is going to be one of our featured people. Louisa Stowe is my co-host for all next week. And the theme is going to be how true love creates heaven on earth. So there it is. That's what I want us to all contemplate between now and next week. How does true love create heaven on earth? Because that's in the awakening world. Isn't that what we're trying to do? We're wanting to create heaven on earth. And that's what the awakening world is all about. So definitely make sure you join us for next week. And hopefully we'll hear more from Emily tonight. There's another question that came up from Dr. Laura for multiple people. I'll actually express a little bit first, and then I think I'll go to Paul Sterling and see if anybody else wants to address it. Dr. Laura asks, after a certain age, she's 66, mostly you've learned to love and accept yourself. And then she says, to tell the truth, the real drive for intimate relationships diminishes a bit. Any ideas about how to stimulate in your being the desire for relationship? Good question. Well, it just so happens, Dr. Laura, that I'm 66. And actually, I've been single myself for a couple of years now. And I still have this strong desire for relationship. But I got kind of spoiled being with Emily after 5 years because it was so good and so easy with Emily. And what's really, really true is that I'm not willing to put up with anything other than truly a divine partnership where there's ease and there's flow. Then that doesn't mean there's not going to be work. Of course there's going to be work. But, there's a difference between when you're flowing and when you're swimming upstream. And so I would say that for myself at the same age as you, every day I still look forward to a relationship, and I actually am going on a date tomorrow. But it's got to be in flow, and we're no longer driven by the I have to be in a relationship. I have to have sex. I have to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a lover. But we're driven by availability to connect with the right person. So that's kind of my little piece on it. And Paul Sterling, I'm going to see if you have anything you'd like to say about that.
I kind of want to say the same thing, Scott, in a little bit different way. I was talking to some people today about the difference between human animal and human spirit. And when we're young, human animal, we're like, we got to reproduce. We have the drive. It's like, it's this hunger to be in a relationship, and later on it can become a desire to be in a relationship. It's not a need to, it's a want to. And so that's sort of the difference in looking at human spirit. What is the difference in those two formulas, or not formulas, but different ways of looking at it? Human animal, human spirit. And if we can get to, I don't know that we want to increase the desire. We want to just go, what is the desire, to uncover it. And if you've had a lot of painful experiences in relationships, it's like, Scott, I'll just play with you for a second, but if I'm giving you $100 bills, when do you want me to stop?
Not at all.
Because there's a benefit in there. It feels good. But if we get to this age and we've had a lot of terrible experiences in relationships and not as many good ones, it's kind of, we sort of want a relationship, but we don't have a lot of confidence that it's actually turn out well. So we're pensive rather than excited. And as we heal, like so many speakers tonight talked about healing, as we heal, we become more and more available for something amazing to happen. So there you go.
Beautiful. Thank you. Um, so the same woman that had asked the question of Erikaa a little bit earlier, first of all, she's sending a lot of thanks and appreciation. Again, she's on Facebook and has been very vulnerable and honest. And she said thank you to both Emily and Erikaa. To know what would be specific steps beyond, what you talked about, Erikaa, meditation. Are there any other specific steps for reestablishing a different relationship to her sexuality? And I guess that's to both Emily or Erikaa. I'll put you both on spotlight and either of you can tackle it.
I can pop in. I would say is creating some time to get to know what your authentic turn on is. So what lights up your own energy, what is your authentic desire, and getting into your own pleasure body. So igniting your senses, igniting your sense of touch with your own body, listening to your own body, listening to how your erotic energy wants to move and flow, and then starting to explore how to turn yourself on and be able to start talking about that and speaking about that and bringing that out into the world.
Beautiful. Thank you, Emily. Erikaa, anything you'd like to add?
Very similar to what Emily shared about learning your turn on and like setting up the space to light some candles, play some sensual music, and just focus on the felt sense. If you're noticing like the thoughts are heavy, I really like to play with sound. Anytime I'm in my head, I like to just drop into just making some sound because it activates the vagus nerve. And I'm not a vagus nerve expert, but it allows you to just relax that nervous energy and just really connect to your heart. So the more that you just connect to the felt sense, you just feel more in your body, more present. And so, of course, just the other thing I like to do is take myself on a tantric date. It's something I picked up from the book Pussy, a Reclamation, one of my favorite books. Yes, Emily, we have like same books in common. So like just looking at yourself in the mirror and just like feeling sexy that you are the one. I mean, even in relationship, even if you're in a relationship, it's so good to have a relationship with yourself because no one can tell you what turns you on except yourself. So whether it's like light, feathery touch, is it sound, just knowing your erotic blueprint is another one of my favorites, is knowing your 5 languages of sex. And that's about it. I'm complete.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Well, I think what we'll do then is we're going to go into, in a moment, take more questions. But I also want to acknowledge the passage of Bob Proctor. And so, Paul, are you ready to take over on that?
Yeah, I am. And just so that people are clear, this is going to be like 5 minutes or a little bit more, but it's not going to be complete. There's no way that he was almost 90 years old. There's no way that I could ever give you a complete thing here. And Kaya is on there too, a friend of mine who's a trainer down in LA and amazing human being. And I was talking to him this morning and he had an experience with Bob. So we're going to use that as an example of what the impact Bob has on people's lives. So I'm going to share my screen here and then I'm going to ask Kaya some questions. I'm going to read a quick poem, but It's like when I look at, all of a sudden, I'm touched by the impact he had on my life. And he was born July 5th, 1934. And there's this dash there in between July and February 3rd, 2022. And you know what I wanted to just cover is a tiny bit of what he did with his dash. And so to do that, I'm going to read a quick poem and have people just sink into it. I read of a man who stood to speak at a funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of birth and spoke the following dates with tears. But when he said, what he said mattered most was the dash between those years, the dash that represents all the time that they spend alive on earth. And not only those who love them, known what little that line is worth, what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and how we love and how we spent our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that still can be rearranged. If you could slow things down enough to consider what's true and real and always try and understand the way other people feel, be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things you say, of how you spent your dash? And this is obviously Bob. This is his wife, Linda. I was talking to Linda 2 days ago. When I found out about it, I called her right away. And I just want to say a tiny bit about Bob. I was just thinking about who he showed up as, and he lived these things. And one of the things that really touches me, my story, is when I was about to get a divorce 20 some years ago, I talked to Bob. He says, whatever you do, Paul, don't do it out of anger. It may be the right choice, but don't be mean. And that, I think it was like that night, I got in a big fight with my ex. And I wanted to say, and that's why I want a divorce. And Bob's voice was in my head, said, don't do it out of anger. And I waited. And I did it the next day out of compassion. Bob was a dreamer. He was wise. He was bold. He was generous, all of these things and more. And what I want to do is say there's so many things he left behind, The Secret, his books. But what I want to say, that one of the biggest things he left behind is he left behind impact on the people that he touched. And why I wanted to have Kaya come in and speak today is because when we were talking, Kaya, it was life-changing for Kaya, and it was another day for Bob, because this is who he was. He did it on a regular basis. So Kaya, would you be willing to share a little bit of your story of meeting Bob?
Yes, and I would love the honor of saluting your incredible work, Paul. Some of you are aware how incredible he is, and he's been working with myself and Veronica for now a year. She's right. She's like 2 years. Just one-on-one coaching. He's incredible. And Paul, I really attribute where I am in my life a lot to what your coaching has provided for me and for Veronica. Wow, my story with Bob, like many of us that are on this journey, we've had challenges, right? Who hasn't? And they say what makes a person into a coach? Well, they had a lot of problems at some point to kind of figure out how to get through those things. So I was stuck. I was pretty much, I felt like didn't know who I was, didn't know where I was going. I had some friends say to me at some point have you seen The Secret? And I'm like, well, what's The Secret? Is it a movie with Will Smith or something? I was totally confused. So 2-3 people mentioned, go see it, go see it. I ended up putting it on. And in the very first 1 minute or so, Bob says with his language, something to the effect of, you create your experience of reality. And to me, that was a shocking statement, because I'm doing drugs, I'm drinking vodka like it's water. I have no self-worth, no self-esteem. I have no purpose in life. And I've got everybody I could think of to blame: my mom, my dad, life, the president, anybody. And then the next thing he said, and as I'm about to turn this DVD off because I'm really annoyed that he would say such a thing, he said, if you have a dream, you wouldn't have the dream if you didn't have the capability of achieving the dream. And I was thinking, I daydreamed a lot. I daydreamed of a life that I didn't have. And I felt this feeling in the middle of my chest. I felt like my hair was standing up on end. I felt goosebumps. I never even knew what a breakthrough was at that point. I was having a complete visceral breakthrough. I went online and I looked him up and tried to figure out how to get one of his programs and study with him, and ordered his program called the Science of Getting Rich program. I then found out he was going to be in LA at the Radisson Hotel. So I show up at the Radisson Hotel with a massive chip on my shoulder, still annoyed by him and his message, because it completely contradicted everything. I thought people that were happy and successful were lucky. That really was my mindset in my 20s and my early 30s. And then I walk up and there's 500 people at the Radisson Hotel. They had just come off the Oprah show with Beckwith and Canfield. And they were huge stars, and everybody's waiting to get an autograph. And that annoys me even more, because I'm thinking, this is not a rock band. He's just in a DVD. Why do you all want an autograph of his? So I wait for the line to dissipate. I go up to him and I say something to him. I don't even remember what it was. And then he goes on stage. 20 minutes later, he says, where is that Kaya? My name's Kaya. So he says, Kaya. And I am just completely mortified, because I'm in the 4th row. I know he's, when a person says a name like that, I know they're butchering my name. I'm mortified, and he asks me to stand up. I'm sinking my head in my fingers, hoping that he thinks I'm not here. The whole room is quiet, and I look through my fingers, and he's staring right at me. He says, Kaya, right? Kaya, stand up. I'm pissed. I'm standing up. I feel like I'm about to faint. I feel like my knees are shaking. My palms are sweaty, because I have a huge fear of public speaking at that time. He asked me a question. I answered the question. I don't even know what I said. 500 people in the room applauded. I don't even know what I said. And then that was the realization that something was happening. I looked at him as God. He's like this tall, skinny white guy. I know that God is in all colors and all forms, but at that time I thought, okay, if there's an image of God, that's what it looks like to me at this moment. And then I ended up studying with him part of his Science of Getting Rich program with Reverend Michael Beckwith and Jack Canfield. And then I would have these little mastermind meetings, and I would dream of one day, could it be possible one day I would share the stage with my mentor of mentors, Bob Proctor. And people said, oh, he doesn't have time for you. He's busy. He's on the Oprah show. That ain't ever going to happen. So I ended up asking someone who asked him if he would come to LA, and he was going to be in LA. And they said, but you got to have a crowd, dude. You can't, Bob is used to big groups. You can't. So I ended up coming out with $1,500. I paid Ryan Seacrest himself to announce Bob Proctor, Kai Redford, whatever, in Pasadena. Within 24 hours, 300 people showed up, and I was actually on stage with them. This was 4 months after I had a stutter. I had a massive fear of public speaking, and I thought it was impossible. And I just want to really credit this incredible man, because I see all of us as the children of the universe, God, source, infinite intelligence, whatever you want to call it. And, growing up, they always wanted to be like Mike. You know, I want to be like Mike, like Michael Jordan. For me, it was I wanted to be like Bob. And Bob would absolutely impacted my life. And I know he's impacted the lives of so many other people. Today, I do a lot of success coaching for Fortune 500 companies, and uh, attracted Paul into my life to level me up even more and even higher. And it's just an incredible opportunity uh, to to salute an incredible man who in spirit will be with me and is with all of us for the rest of time. So thank you, Bob. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, everybody, for allowing for me to share my greatest mentor, my first mentor.
Yeah. And thank you, Kaya. And I think that I almost want to end it on this unless there's other people's input. The why I wanted to do this is there's no way to like stuff all of the accomplishments into this time period. I'd rather take one story of one transformation and say, that's Bob. He cared about people. He cared about transforming lives. He wanted to make a difference. You know, he reached out to me, and you know, I went to my story probably pretty similar to Kaya's in a lot of ways, and we became friends, and we're friends probably for over 30 years. And the last time I talked to him, the thing he said is, Paul, you're a really good friend.
Mm.
And that was one of the most precious things to hear that from him. And that's the kind of guy he was and will be remembered for. He's the kind of guy that can make a difference. And I think I'll close on that. And the thing, if we want to honor him, is to know that we're the kind of people that can also make a difference. I know Kaya and Veronica have paid it forward. They make a huge difference in a lot of people's lives with the work that they do. So, and Scott does. And so thank you, Kaya, for your beautiful story. And thank you, Veronica. I hear you, didn't see you.
Thank you. Good to meet you, Kaya. Thank you for coming on. Thank you, Paul, for sharing that. And let's just take a moment of silence and send prayer, appreciation to Bob, wherever he is, as he's making his transition. Maximum grace for the great soul, for the great spirit of this man. Thank you, Bob, for all the lives you've touched. I think we're going to transition into some music. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, everybody. If Fanny and Vegari are ready to play, can you guys, are you guys about ready to play? Looks like you are. And then we'll also have some music from Omashar. And any last questions, people, definitely we'll get to final questions. I see Michael Dyer's still here. Dolphin is still here. And of course, Paul and myself are still here. But we're going to wrap up pretty soon. So Fanny and Vegari have one more song for us.
This one is called The Wings of Love. And tonight was very touching, beautiful, talking about love. Is there foreplay for Valentine's? And as a couple, Vegari and I, for 25 years, I say that I think the magic, the trick of a relationship is really to have fun together and to honor each other. So as you honor who you are within yourself, you can honor your partner. Because remember, we are a reflection, a mirror to each other. So I remember when I met Vegari 25 years ago, I was playing on the street as a musician, and I recognized Vegari, and we exchanged a musical instrument, and I went to visit his home, and he sang me a song, and his song blew me away, and I said, this is the man for me. This is forever. I know his heart, his love, his tenderness, his sweetness. I know I will honor him forever. And he worked, he swept me off my feet, and we dance, and we still are dancing. So remember to find the passion in you and honor who you truly are, so you can truly honor your partner. Love is magical. Love is supposed to be fun, and love is supposed to be easy, like a flow. Just let go, let God, and honor who you are and who you are with. So remember the wings of love.
Yes, you can sing your heart. Sing yourself into your lover's heart.
Thank you. That was just a really beautiful story and a beautiful wisdom that you just shared. So thank you so very much.
The wings of love take me higher. The wings of love take me higher. The wings of love lift me higher. Love is a flower. Love is good, good nature. Love is compassion in action. Love is a sharing, sheer joy of giving. Let the wings of love take you higher, higher in love, higher. Remember, all is love. Bring angels around. Timeless is love. Divine is your love. Sacred is your love. Holy is your loving, transcendent. All is love. All is love. Between each other, yes, love. All is love. When your love is compassion, a pure fragrance is released. A higher form of love, a higher vibration. When your love is compassion, when your love is high vibration, and when your love is not asking for anything, but only ready to give, only ready to love. Your love is an essence, a mighty, 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 mighty is your love. Mighty, mighty, mighty is your love, yeah. When you play together is the best foreplay, and all is good and all is sweet and all is love. Remember to take yourself so ever lightly. Remember, be only ready to give. Be only ready to love. Love is a phenomenon. Love is a fragrance. Love is the essence of the one mighty, one mighty, mighty love. Oh, you see, oh, you see, my love. You say you get the wings of love take you higher. The wings of love lift you higher. You see. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Wow, that was just beautiful. Wow.
Oh,
Noticing.
that was a great orgasm. That's what it is. You relax and you really enjoy the moment. There's no rush. Life is beautiful. Love is beautiful. And our songs are available on our website if you want. The song we played before, the Orum song, was created on a mountain. It was a beautiful. We also have a video on our website of Om, wherever love is. And
So here's your website. So I assume we
Thank
go.
you.
It's starchild.ca, and if you go to music, mystical harp music, Starchild music. Wow, you've got a lot happening here. Look at that. Wow. What's the best way while I'm here to actually buy your music?
Well, you can actually go on starchild.ca for Canada. Hey.
Right.
And you just send us a note and we'll send you a hard copy. We are kind of an old fashioned couple.
Oh, okay. All right. All
We'll
right. Well,
send you a picture and a hard copy. And
that's
you
good
can
to
also
know.
subscribe on our YouTube channel because we're starting this new relation here on the Zoom room and with the world. And we want to share our love with our mystic music. Thank you
Well,
so
thank you so much. Thank you, you guys. And I hopefully you'll be back next week or soon after. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Thank you. Much love.
I think we're going to wind down. There haven't been any more questions that came in. I want to acknowledge Omashar, who's getting ready to go to Peru, but I think that last song we just heard was a great way to complete, if you're okay with that, Omashar.
Yes, totally fine. Thank you.
When do you leave for Peru?
Next Wednesday.
Wednesday.
But I'll see you tomorrow in the morning at your
Okay,
Sacred
great.
Sunday show.
All right, great. We'll see you on the Sacred Sunday show tomorrow. Thank you so
Lovely.
much.
Beautiful, Fanny and Vegaris. Thank you.
Yeah, wasn't that beautiful? And a lot of wonderful comments coming in. Really, the musicians on this show are incredible, and so are the presenters. I want to acknowledge Paul Sterling and Michael Dyer, both still with us. Hey guys, thank you. I'm going to go to gallery review for one last moment. Thank you, everybody who's kind of hung in there, and 77 people in the Zoom room, and 32 still on Facebook Unify. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll look forward to get a good night's rest because tomorrow we've got a great Sacred Sunday show. And so I'm hoping to see you. We know Omashar is going to be there. And we know that I'll be there along with Alice, Dolphin, and Samir. So looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Have a beautiful, beautiful evening. And, and let me save the chat. There we go. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Appreciate you.